Father's Day. Good to be back with you. How are you all doing? Oh, well, good. All right. Oh, you're here. Well, that's high praise indeed. Okay, high excitement indeed. So, I'm excited to be here today. So, I missed coming to church. So, believe it or not. So, all right. Father's Day. All right. So, for Father's Day message, we're going to start with two women. Father's Day message, we're going to start with two women, which is a little bit unusual, of course. And, you know, and I've said this many times before, women don't get a whole lot of press within Scripture, not as much as men. Men tend to go ahead and dominate the pages because the men tend to be a lot of the main characters. But today, ironically enough, Father's Day, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at two women to begin with, and then the men will come along, okay? So, but we can start with two women, and I think that's interesting for us. We're going to go to a passage in Scripture, a book in the Old Testament, which we don't turn to a whole lot, but we are today. We're going to go to 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. Okay, so some of you are like, oh my goodness, I have to open up my Bible, and those pages haven't been used before. Okay, so get there. All right, go to 2 Chronicles today. Oh my goodness. 2 Chronicles, we're going to be in the 22nd chapter. So 2 Chronicles chapter 22. And what we're going to see here is we're going to, you could sort of start in a lot of different places. Today we're going to start in 2 Chronicles chapter 22, and we're going to start with verse 10. Okay. As we come to 2 Chronicles chapter 22 and verse 10, what we are seeing is we are seeing that the nation of Judah, so that's the southern kingdom. Remember, Israel has divided. You have the nation of Israel is the top 10 tribes. It's in the north, and then we have Judah to the south. Okay. So we're looking here at the southern two tribes, the southern kingdom, okay? That's where Jerusalem is at. And what we're having here is we're having a nation at this time in a complete turmoil is what we're at, okay? And what we're going to find here is we're going to see two women in particular as we'll look at verses 10 through 16. Now we're going to continue, by the way. We're going to look at chapters 23, and we're also going to look at parts of 24 as well, okay? But as we continue on in the 22nd chapter, verse 10 and following, again, we get these two women, okay? And the first woman, we get her right away. Now Athaliah is going to be a woman who is very, very important to us, okay? She is going to be the mother of the king, which just died, okay? So that's what we have here. Now Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, the king who just died in the verses previously, saw that her son was dead, and she arose and destroyed all the royal family in the house of Judah. What we have here is we have this woman, and this is one wicked woman. Her name is Athaliah, and this is a woman who is, today what we call her, we'd say she's a political animal, okay? This is a woman who is, but it's not so much politics here, it's just a woman who is in love with power, okay? She's kind of like, if you want to look for an American equivalent, I hesitate to say this a little bit, she's a little bit like a Hillary Clinton, but on steroids, okay, to be fair. And she has a murdering spree to go along with her, okay? So this is a very, very bad woman, okay? And we have here Athaliah, and she is looking at the situation, and her son, who has been king, is dead. Now that he's dead, she has got very, very comfortable with the power which she had previously, and now she's going to go ahead and she's going to keep it. Athaliah, she goes ahead and she is going to wipe out the rest of the royal line. So not only is she a person who wants power, but she is willing to kill the rest of her relatives to make sure that they don't become adversaries to her. So she's going to wipe out every male that she can possibly find that has a royal lineage. And here she comes. Now, we look at her. She wants to be the queen of Judah. Her son, once again, had been king. Now he's dead. Her husband had been king as well. Her husband was Joram or Jehoram. It depends upon which translation you're looking at. We'll just call him Joram. And Joram had been a king as well. He had been a very wicked and evil individual. And as a matter of fact, if you go to 2 Chronicles 21, go back a chapter, and in verse 7, when he becomes king, 21 and verse 7, you'll notice something which is kind of interesting as well. So 2 Chronicles 21 verse 7, that's not what I'm looking for, excuse me. If you go back a little bit further on, now I'm missing it a little bit. Just take my word for it here. We see that when Joram becomes king, he goes ahead and he wipes out all of his brothers as well. So she has learned quite well from her husband. Now she sees her son is dead, and now she is going to take charge. We are told in 2 Chronicles chapter 21 verse 7 that God actually would have wiped out Joram, but decided not to because the Davidic covenant, where from the line of David, there still needs to be somebody to procreate so that the line of David would continue. And so actually, David's going to come through that particular line even. So what's interesting is we come into chapter 22 then, in verse 10, we have Athaliah, and she's killing off the rest of the males. So we almost want to say, what's going to happen to the Davidic covenant? That's where the second woman comes in. So the first woman is Athaliah. She is a brutal, terrible woman. She's killing off her own relatives, horrible. But then comes the second woman. And the second woman, we find that in 22, and we read in verse 11. But Jehosheba. Now, we're going to say Jehosheba because that's what they write in Kings, and that's a lot easier to say than what you get in 2 Chronicles. Okay, so we're going to use the easier name. Is that okay with you? Okay, all right, very good. So Jehosheba, okay? But Jehosheba, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were about to be put to death, and she put him and his nurse in the bedroom. Thus Jehosheba and the daughter of the king Jehoram, thus she's the sister of Athaliah, and his wife, and the wife of Jehoiada the priest, because she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah so that she did not put him to death. So what's happening here is we have two sisters. One is a power-hungry monster, and the other one, her sister, is hiding her nephew. And she's hiding him away because she knows that sister number one wants to go ahead and kill them all so that she has ultimate power. But Jehosheba says, no, that's not going to take place. Now, this is interesting for us, especially when we consider the Davidic covenant, because God said that David would not lack a man to sit upon the throne as long as they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And here you have this little boy, Joash, and if he dies, the Davidic line is done. But she goes ahead and she hides him aside. She puts him aside because God, in his superintending, keeps him alive. So we like Jehosheba. She's a good gal. She goes ahead. We know that she's the sister of Athaliah. That means she's the daughter of an evil king, Jehoram. She is the sister of terrible people. She's the daughter of terrible people, but she's doing the right thing. And we also notice something as well. She is also the wife of Jehoiada. Now, Jehoiada here is our high priest. So let's read on this a little bit here. In verse, excuse me, I'm missing my place here. Wife of Jehoiada the priest, because she was a sister of Ahaziah. Go down to verse 12. And he, that is Joash, he remained with them 6 years, hidden in the house of God, while Athaliah reigned over the land. So, as we look here, our Father's Day message starts off with two women, two sisters. One's a power-crazed lunatic, okay? And the other one is saying, I have to go ahead and I have to keep God's plan, and I'm going to hide this little boy so this little boy doesn't get killed. And then he gets put into the arms of Jehoiada the priest. And guess what? Jehoiada gets to go ahead and gets to keep him. Now, what Jehoiada could have done at this particular time, he could have said, well, honey, I don't think this is such a good idea, and this is very risky. Let's not do this. But he does not. He decides to go ahead and keep the boy along with Jehosheba, and they're going to keep it. Now, we are told here that Joash, the little boy who's going to become king, he is kept with them for 6 years, and it's a secret. I have a question for you. Who here can keep a little boy of 6 or below quiet for 6 years? Okay? I mean, I'm looking at a little boy all the way in the corner. Could you imagine trying to keep that little boy quiet for 6 years? We couldn't keep our children quiet. I have 4 boys. 4 boys. Our son Nate, oh my goodness. We had my wife, because she's very smart, and she has all these strategies, but they didn't always work. And she had this game called the quiet game. And we would play the quiet game. Let's see who would be the first one to break the quiet, or try not to break it. And I think we were about at 30 seconds or less, and they couldn't handle it. Ah! He had to make noise. He just couldn't do it. Couldn't handle it. Patrick wasn't very good either. Now, you look at Patrick today and you're like, he's smooth, he's quiet, he's well-mannered. He wasn't always this way. When Patrick was a little boy, he broke his arm. He's the only child that has had a broken bone, but he climbed out of his playpen, fell upon the bed that was next to him and broke his humerus. Yeah, big break for a little kid. They looked at me weird. So there he is with a broken arm, right? Well, that'll slow him down. Nope. He's all splinted up, He's all ready to go, And where did we find him later that day? Jumping on the couch. He was jumping on the couch, having a good time. His mother, once again, great mother. You know what she did? Took his pain medication away.
He only got it at nighttime.
That boy was going to live in pain because we could not afford to have that child break his arm anymore. So there he was, suffering in pain, rightfully so. Because sometimes little boys can't shut up and be quiet. That's just how it is. So here you have Jehoiada and Jehoshaphat. Here you have this nice little couple right here. And they have to keep this little boy, and they have to keep him quiet. And that's a hard job, is it not? It is. So here are these people. By the way, they're old. They're old. When you look at the ages of how old these people are, Jehoiada himself is at the very minimum 83 years old. 83. He's not just playing father, he's playing grandfather, maybe great-grandfather. Is he not? Yeah, he is. So here he is, and he has to watch over a 6-year-old. Or Jehoiada does. Oh, I guess the nurse, But they got to keep him quiet. No. We look at this, and we see this here, and we ask this question. Jehoiada is a man who is willing to risk doing that which is right. As I look at him, and as I look at him as an example, here is a man doing what a man must do, and he's willing to say, this is right, and therefore I will risk it. Gentlemen, in your lives, as you live in this world, in 21st century America, sometimes the question is going to be, what is right, what is wrong? And when you have the answer, well, this is what's right, but it has consequences to it. The question then is, are you willing to risk what is necessary to do that which is right? Oftentimes we're like, well, that's risky and it's not very convenient, so let's go ahead and let somebody else do it. Or let's just be quiet. We're told in our society we're not supposed to be rude. We're supposed to be tolerant. We're not supposed to cause any types of problems. But the reality is that Jehoiada, here he is in a national crisis, and he is willing to do that which is right, even though it's risky. I mean, don't get me wrong. Women are involved here. Clearly, they're involved. We start off with 2 women, okay? We start one bad and one good. Women do right things. Women have to risk things too. But Jehoiada here, he is finally going to say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that which is correct. The child's put into my lap, but I'll do what's correct. Again, he's an old man. As an old man, he might even go and say, I can play the age card. Well, I'm an old guy. Let somebody younger do it. God doesn't call you to retirement. I never find retirement in Scripture. I just don't. I don't find it. I don't find it in Daniel, and I don't find it in Abraham. I don't find it in Jehoiada. He's 80 plus years old. Wouldn't it be nice if you got to a certain particular age and you got to say, now I don't have to risk it anymore. It's okay. Gentlemen, as men, you have to risk it sometimes. You have to risk doing that which is right as an old man even. Yeah, but I've lived for a long time. I've paid my dues. I don't have to do that anymore. Sorry. I don't care how old you are. You don't get to retire until God says and takes you away. You got to risk it. You got to risk it for what is right. Men, do your duty. Well, it continues on. So we have this whole situation where we have the queen mother, and she's a terrible person, killing off all kinds of people. And now she's made herself the de facto queen. It's always interesting, by the way, when you're looking at the number of kings in Judah or Israel. It's 19 and 19, but you kind of have to factor in Athaliah as well, because she's going to be queen, essentially, for 6 years. In the 7th year, chapter 23, verse 1. But in the 7th year, Jehoiada took courage, and he entered into a covenant with the commanders of hundreds. Now, this is interesting. So we have Jehoiada, and he's going to say, okay, here it is. I'm taking courage. And this is courage because if he is found out, he is a dead man. He is going to go ahead and defy a woman who has a reputation for killing, not just killing, but killing her own line, her own relatives. So here he is. He says, okay, I'm going to take courage. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And there is no talking back, no saying, yeah, maybe we should go ahead and get along. Nope. He's going to take courage. He makes a covenant with other people. He makes an agreement with them, which I think is interesting as well because, okay, they have their own secret. We have Jehoiada and we have Jehoshaphat. Okay, great. And we have the nurse. We know those three people are in the know. But now he's going to go ahead and he's going to let a lot more other people know. And we all know that when you let more people know that the possibility of the news leaking out to other people is much greater, is it not? Okay. We got to let other people know. He is willing to lead people in the right. So not only is he willing to risk the right, now he's going to go ahead and he's going to try to lead people in the right. So he takes courage and entered into a covenant with the commanders of hundreds. Now we have a lot of names here, okay? You don't have to memorize these. There'll be no quiz. Azariah the son of Jehoram, Ishmael the son of Johanan, Azariah the son of Obed, Maasah the son of Adiah, Elishaphat the son of Zikri. And they went through Judah and gathered the Levites in all the cities of Judah and the heads of the fathers' houses of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. That's a lot of people. And all of the assembly made a covenant with the king, meaning Joash, the little boy, in the house of God. And Jehoiada said to them, behold, the king's son, let him reign, as the Lord spoke concerning his son, or the sons of David. Now that's interesting because Jehoiada, remember, he's the high priest, and he understands the law well. He understands that God has given a covenant to David in 2 Samuel chapter 7, that God said that he would always have a son to go ahead and to be sitting on the throne of David. And here is this boy Joash, the last, if you will, on this particular branch of the line. And if he dies, that branch is cut off. And Jehoiada says, God promised, and he's it. And the people around him, instead of disclosing it to Athaliah or to try to get some sort of political benefits, perhaps, what they do is they said, we're going to remain quiet for a bit. So they make this covenant. They agree that go ahead and support Joash. Continue in verse 4. This is the thing that you shall do. And it gives them a long plan. Now, for brevity's sake, we're not going to go ahead and read the whole plan. But basically, it's a shift change of Levites and that type of stuff, okay? So for brevity's sake, we'll go ahead and spare you all of that. But what they do is they decide to go ahead and have people so that they're guarding the king at all times. And they're going to go ahead and they're going to announce him as the king. Scoot down to verse 7. The Levites shall surround the king with their weapons in their hands, and whoever enters the house, meaning the house of the Lord, shall be put to death. But with the king, be with the king when he comes in and out and goes out. The Levites and all Judah did according to what Jehoiada the priest commanded, and they each brought his men, who were to go off duty at the Sabbath, with those who were to come on duty with the Sabbath. For Jehoiada the priest did not dismiss the divisions. Jehoiada the priest gave the captains the spears and the large shields who had been given, and the small shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. And he sent all the people as a guard for the king, every man with his weapons in his house, or in his hands, from the south side and from the house to the north side of the house. And from the house on the north side of the house, around the altar and the house. A lot of houses there. Then they brought on the king's son and put a crown on him, and they gave him the testimony, and they proclaimed him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and they said, long live the king. So here you have a guy who is willing to do that which is right. Then he's going to go ahead and he's going to have people cooperate, and they're going to work together. Okay? Again, we look at this and we say, well, what does this have to do with me? You know. We look at an old story of Jehoiada doing that. Well, guys, God wants us to go ahead and to live and do that which is right, no matter what, no matter the consequences. But God doesn't want us to go ahead and just do the right in and of ourselves, but he wants us to lead people as well. He wants us to go ahead and to lead people into doing that which is correct. It's not enough. I don't think it's sufficient just to say, well, I myself am doing that which is correct, and I guess everybody else gets to do whatever. But men are designed to go ahead and to have influence upon other individuals as well. And we need to lead people to do that which is appropriate, that which is good. Okay? This is what Jehoiada is doing. So finally we have here, the king is put back on the throne. Now, the rest of this finishes up simple enough, okay? Athaliah, she finds out about it in verse 12. When Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she sent into the house. She went into the house of the Lord to the people. And when she looked, there was the king standing by the pillar at the entrance, and the captains and the trumpeters besides the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets, and the singers with their musical instruments leading in the celebration. And Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason, treason." When Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains who were set over the army, saying to them, "Bring her out between the ranks, and anyone who follows her is to be put to death with the sword." For the priest said, "Do not put her to death in the house of the Lord." So they laid hands on her, and she went into the entrance of the horse gate of the king's house, and they put her to death there. So ends Athaliah, okay? But we look at all of this, right? And what we see here is we see a man willing to risk whatever it takes. Then he's willing to go ahead and to risk people or lead people to the point of overthrowing the queen, is he not? But it continues on, okay? And again, we could talk a lot more about this, but that's not my point today. Today, I just want to look at some of the broader strokes here. We see this as well. We see as we go into 23 and verses 16 through 21, once again, Jehoiada makes a covenant with the people. And what we're going to see is that he sees the root problem of what's going on here is that there is a religious problem. Not just a political problem, but a religious problem. Now, these people are not worshiping the Lord as they should. And so they're worshiping the Baals, they're worshiping the Asherim, they're worshiping all kinds of things which they should not. They are neglecting the temple of the Lord, which they should be taking care of. And so he goes ahead and he talks to them and says, let's get things fixed. And this is what he does along with Joash. And Joash, because he's the young boy, and he says, okay, that makes sense to me. And so he gets them to do the things which they're supposed to be doing. You know, it's interesting for us because sometimes people think that, if a person is religious, they're a bit on the wimpy side. And I think some denominations perhaps play into this idea. You know, some denominations have their pastors wear robes, and rings, and there's a lot of floofiness and fluffiness about the ministry. But I think, but when I look at people like Jehoiada, here you have a guy who's is a man's man. Okay, he understands that worshiping the Lord is not something for sissies. It's not something just for women. Okay, it is something for us as guys. Okay, it's true. And again, I think there is the idea that, well, if you follow Jesus or if you love the Lord, then somehow or another that's less than masculine. Nonsense. It is what we're designed to do, is we're to worship the Lord, we're to follow him. So we see here all kinds of work which takes place here in all of these reforms throughout the 23rd chapter. Not only that, we see a little bit more. Chapter 24. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Ziba, Beersheba, and Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada got him 2 wives and sons and daughters. Okay, what we're going to see here is we're going to see that Jehoiada goes and does what is necessary to make the king do that which is right, and so he's going to mentor the young. The religion will be restored. And as I look at this, I ask this question for us once again. Gentlemen, are you doing your part in mentoring people who are younger than you? Keep in mind, Joash at the very minimum is 83 years old. Okay? We know that Joash will live to 130 years. A long time. We know that Joash only lives 47 years. So we can take the 47 and subtract it from the 130. So he has to be 83 at the very minimum when he takes this job. And here he is mentoring the young man, making sure he's doing that which is right. Are you mentoring your next generation? You're like, well, my kids are out of the house. Well, you're mentoring your grandchildren. Well, I don't have any kids. Are you mentoring your nephews and nieces? Are you helping somebody else in ministry someplace? There's lots of kids who need help. There's lots. I can guarantee you that. We suffer in America with the problem with oftentimes the absentee father issue. If I can guarantee you I can find children without dads. But perhaps you're a dad and you got kids, and okay, great. But are you mentoring the kids in the way to follow the Lord? That's kind of a big deal. And we in America, we have a lot of things which we do now for our kids, which probably distract us from what we should be doing. We buy our kids supercomputers at the age of 5 and put it in their pockets. And they're entertained. They get to watch Blue's Clues, or they get to watch Bluey the dog, or they get to go ahead and do all this type of stuff, and they don't cause as much noise. But are they learning how to deal with people? Are they learning about the Lord? Or are they just quiet because we've sedated them with digital technology? Substitute church with youth sports, we can do that. I like youth sports. I'm into youth sports. But don't go ahead. But your child's not going to be a professional. Don't do that. Don't substitute the things which are important with the things which are not important. Here is Jehoiada, a man of 80 some odd years old, and he's mentoring a little boy saying, hey, there it is. Now, he doesn't have the challenge of smartphones. But he has other challenges, I guarantee you that. Figure out, gentlemen, how to mentor the kids around you. You're like, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, go be a coach someplace. Well, I'm not into sports. Then go ahead and coach chess school, chess club. Go figure out how to teach children to read. You can help me with a youth group. I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with that. I'm starting to get older. I'm starting to get slower. Not too slow, though. Not too slow. Lily tells me I'm getting old. That's what she tells me. Is that true? Yeah. Although I think I can probably outrun Lily still. I can run, girl. I didn't see you at the kickball field. Thank you very much. Anyway. That's right. But find a way. Find a way. So there he is, and again, we can go through all chapter 24, right? In chapter 24, and it's long and belabored, and that's not my point today, to go ahead and look at every word. That's not what I'm doing today, okay? And what we'll see that there's money collection. Matter of fact, it was so slow. We see that Joash, the young boy, says, hey, we got to get things going faster. We see all of that. We see that's really good mentoring. But we do get this one indication, though, that there's going to be more. And if you go to verse 3, again, let me do this. Joash did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. And this is the thing which all of a sudden sort of puts a little bit of a warning sign in our minds. What do you mean, all the days of Jehoiada the priest? Was there something after those days? And the answer to that is yes. So Jehoiada's done that which is correct. We see that he's risking to do the right. We see that he's leading others. We see that he's a true believer, okay? We see that he is one who is mentoring the youth. But then what we're going to see in a fifth item here, as we look at this whole comprehensive idea of Jehoiada, we're going to see that things aren't going to turn out as well as we would like to see. Okay? Go down to verse 15, 24:15. When Jehoiada grew old and full of days and died, he was 130 years old at his death. Now that's really old, okay? 130 years old, that's just old, okay? And I understand that Methuselah lived to 969, but that was a previous age. 130 at this particular time is really, really, really old, okay? It just is. Even if it was today, 130 is old. If you're over 130 here, you let me know, okay? We'll celebrate that. And we see good stuff about this. He was buried, okay? And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, okay? Rightfully so, because he had done good to Israel and towards God in his house. That's fantastic. We like this very much. But here's the problem which we have, which comes afterwards. Now, after the death of Jehoiada, the princes of Judah came and paid homage to the king, and then the king listened to them. Okay, no big deal. Verse 18. And they abandoned the house of the Lord, the God of their fathers, and served the Asherim and idols, just like before. And wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for their guilt of theirs, yet he, that is God, sent prophets among them to bring them back to the Lord. These testified against them, but they would not pay attention. And you look at this and you say, what in the world? So here you have this little boy who should have been dead. And by God's grace, by a woman named Jehoshaphat and her husband Jehoiada, they go ahead and they rescue this child, and Jehoiada has done everything right, as far as we can tell. He has done everything correct. And now all of a sudden there is a turning of their back upon the true God. But it gets worse. Verse 20, then the Spirit of the Lord clothed Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada. Okay, so Jehoiada's actual son. By the way, if Jehoiada was 130 years old, how old is Zechariah? Now, I suppose it's possible, okay, because men have the ability to be involved in the procreation at even an older age. But Zechariah, he's got to be old, right? All right? The Spirit of the Lord clothed Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest, and he stood above the people, and he said to them, thus says the Lord, why do you break the commandments of the Lord so that you cannot prosper? And so we have Jehoiada's own son going there and saying, you can't be doing this. You've got to do the right things. We see that Jehoiada had a good effect upon his son, and his son's saying the right things. We see that he is risking to do that which is right. We see that he is stepping forward in leadership. We see that he is a true believer. So we see good stuff with Zechariah, but we see that this adopted son, if you will, of Joash is not doing the things which he's supposed to be doing. And so we have Zechariah doing the correct things, and then we're going to see what happens with Joash. Why do you break the commandments of the Lord so that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he has forsaken you. Verse 21. But they conspired against him, and by command of the king, Joash, the little boy who was saved, they stoned him with stones in the court of the house of the Lord. And Joash the king did not remember the kindness that Jehoiada, Zechariah's father, had shown him, but killed his son. And when he was dying, he said, may the Lord see and avenge. Okay. So we look at this and say, well, happy Father's Day, Pastor. What a good passage you picked. But I look at this passage, and what I see here is I see an example for us, though. I see Jehoiada risking to do that which is right, willing to go ahead and to teach others or to lead others, being a person who is a true believer, being a person who is willing to mentor the young, being a person who, even if other people reject you in the end, still does that which is right. And what we're going to see here is with Joash. Joash is a young man who becomes a middle-aged man who turns his back upon God and turns his back upon his mentor, essentially. But still, Jehoiada does that which is correct. We don't always get to go ahead and say, well, if I do this, then God's guaranteeing that I get this result. Some of you raise your children and you're saying, oh, I've done it the right way, and I expected to get this, and you don't get that. You still did the right thing if you led them in the Lord. You still did the things you were supposed to be doing. As long as you're leading them the way you're supposed to. Gentlemen, men, lead your children the way that they're supposed to go. Even if the ultimate consequences don't turn out the way that you wanted, lead them in the way they're supposed to go. I don't have any kids. Then find somebody to mentor. Find somebody to challenge. Find somebody to bless. However God has talented you and blessed you, pass that along to the next generation. Because we all get to a point where we no longer are able to do that. One day we die. But as you have breath in your mouth, breath in your lungs, go ahead and teach others about the God who is true. Now, again, it's a sad story towards the end that is true, but it's a great story of a faithfulness which looks at a God who will accomplish his promises and will get things done. And again, from the line of Joash, we are going to see the line of Christ is going to come through that, believe it or not. And it's because of a faithfulness of a guy that says, okay, this is what God has promised, and so therefore I will do which is right. Father's Day of 2026. Gentlemen, what has God called you to do? If it's risky, risk it because it's worthwhile. At the very end, if you say, well, I don't think it's going to turn out, still do the right thing. I remember in ministry a long time ago, when I first started ministry, there was lots of fires, and you're always putting fires out, putting fires out, putting fires out, and trying to fix things. And I realized that's not possible. You can't always just put out fires, put out fires, put out fires. You'll just exhaust yourself. The reality is it's very simple. What's right? What is the right thing to do? And then do it. Gentlemen, what is right for your family? If this is right, then do it. No matter the consequences, do it. Be the father that you need to be. And may God give us the grace to do that. I pray that I will be the father that I'm supposed to be. Even with my children growing, I have grandchildren, I have others that I get to influence. Do as you're supposed to do. Simple message today, a little bit different than normal because we're just going through a historical type of stuff, kind of rushing our way through it. I know a long passage, but I like the story and the example of Jehoiada, and I hope it was a benefit and a blessing to you. We're going to go ahead and pray, and I'm going to have you stand and pray.